How's it going, guys? Rhino here. And I recently hit 9,000 followers on Instagram, and as a result I posted another Q&A, but this time I wanted to do it more detailed. So essentially my answers have to be short on Instagram, but I wanted to make a longer one where you can ask a more detailed question. I can give you a more detailed answer instead of just what fits on the screen right there. And so I asked people to do that, and then I'd be making a YouTube video where I'd be actually responding to these questions. So here's that actual video. Now I was considering recording it in my regular setup where I have my microphone, the lighting setup and everything, but it's actually a really beautiful day. As you can see, the sun's like at my chest right now. It's going down, so the sun will be getting even better as time goes on. But I thought it was a beautiful day. I thought it'd be kind of fun to come out and just record it in the car. I mean, we're talking about this car mostly, so that's the most fun way to do it. Not to mention, I also have made some changes since the last video that you guys saw where I talked about the car. So essentially what I've done to the car since, wow, it was a couple months ago when I actually posted that last video, was I added cold air intakes, straight pipes, a carbon fiber APR wing, and then also a pump gas tune. So I'm sitting at about 535 wheel horsepower, and the straight pipes are loud as shit. That's why my car's not sitting on right now. I'm actually really warm because the car's just like keeping all the heat inside. So I'm gonna start sweating soon. But I'm also planning on, at the end of the video, I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. I might just back into a spot with a curb, but I'm gonna try to get some revs for you guys on camera and put that in the video too. So yeah, let's get right down into it. For this video, for this first one, I'm not actually going to be reading people's names just in case they don't want it. But if you're interested in having names be read in the future, be sure to comment down below letting me know that you want the names to be read. That way, you know, you can kind of put a face to a question, I guess. I don't know. It's up to you. None of these questions are stupid or anything, so I'm not like insulting anybody. And honestly, knowing these people's names really wouldn't affect too much. So, you know, it really doesn't matter too much, but just for the sake of privacy, I'm not doing it for this one. But let me know if you want me to do that in the future. So let's get into this. I have them on my phone right here. The first question is, next car. I'm not sure if you're asking what if I'm going to, you know, am I going to trade this in for another car down the road, or if I like the next car that I buy? The answer to that question to both would pretty much be the same thing. I'm not going to trade this in, but my next car will be dependent on my situation. What I'm planning on doing, so I'm moving to Houston around the beginning of July, mid-July, and Houston doesn't have inclement weather in terms of snow. This handles well in rain, but it doesn't handle well in snow. So I'm actually highly considering selling my Tacoma once I get to Houston, you know, having a little bit of extra cash. And then I only have to worry about one car. I can save money on insurance as well. But that's not a permanent move where I kind of but I get multiple options where I want to work after I finish a year there. And so it'll kind of depend where I go on certain things that happen. So right now I'm in a relationship that's going to heavily weigh on my decision of if I come back here to Philadelphia. Or if that doesn't pan out, then I'm gonna probably take things related to the best offer, best person, best boss, things like more important factors on the work side of things. And so if I happen to pick a place that has more inclement weather, then I'll probably at that point purchase a much cheaper Subaru or something like that, something that handles well in the snow to have for that inclement weather in case it happens to happen, so I don't have to drive this. But it'll kind of depend. And then if I pick a place that doesn't have very much inclement weather, then it most likely will be a sort of dad-mobile or mom-mobile, whatever you want to call it, will be my next car purchase after that, because, you know, I'm 23 years old. In the next few years, I'm looking at probably getting engaged or married and having kids at some point. And so I would assume that'd be the next purchase. I don't have any interest in upgrading into anything. I really like the GTR. I'm planning on keeping this for a long time, and there's not another car that I really want to get. The next question is, can I have a shout out? This is something that I get asked every single time I do this Q&A. And so here's the thing. My answer is no, but it's for a good reason. You have to hear me out. My answer is no because a shout out won't do much of anything. You could have the best GTR page on Instagram, and if I shout you out, I would say you're probably at best gonna get like 2 followers and maybe 4 or 5 clicks. 4 or 5 people clicking on your page and 2 of them following. I'd say that's probably the best you're gonna get. When I'm on Instagram and I'm scrolling through, I see shout outs all the time. I only click on things that pique my interest, and just someone saying, hey, check out this person, doesn't really do anything to pique my interest. But if you notice, I did do shout outs for the people who took the professional photos of my car, which you can find on my Instagram. You can go to those posts, as well as for like Sultan's Mobile Detailing and then Gabe Detailing when they were doing detailing services on my car. I gave them a shout out, and I guarantee that that was a lot more beneficial, because anyone who is viewing my profile who is even just slightly interested in some sort of detailing, if they see that detailing service, they see that I'm being a part of it, they're gonna take a look at that. They're way more likely to get a click from it. So essentially, if you offer me a service that I want to advertise to my followers, I'm very likely to give you a shout out. But just because you want a shout out, just because you have a page, doesn't mean that a shout out's gonna benefit you. And so I essentially say no. I really only do shout outs for a returned service, and that's just because I want the shout out to actually be successful. I don't want it to be a dud and just take up space and not really do anything. And so that's essentially how it's going to be. If you have a service that you want to try out with my car or something like that, feel free to DM me. I'm happy to discuss that type of thing. But yeah, I'm not doing it for the service. I'm doing it because I want the shout out to be successful. So that's why I do it that way. That's why I only allow shout outs for return services. The next question, hi, question mark with the okay emoji. Hello. Next question, how much did your GTR cost? So GTR, this is a GTR Premium Edition, so brand new this would cost about $110,000. Probably a little bit more, because I don't think it's completely standard premium. I think there might have been a little bit extra to it, but I paid $95,000 on it. The beautiful thing about that is it's a 2017, so at the time I bought it, it was only a year and a half old. It only had 2,000 miles on it, and the guy who had it before me treated it very, very well, and he ended up trading it in for a McLaren. So this guy obviously was into cars. So I got a really nice car for next to brand new, in excellent condition, for $15,000 at least less than what I would have paid if I went brand new. And so I was smart in saving money on that. I could have gone with an even older year and saved even more money, but I ended up paying about $95,000. There was a little bit on top of that with taxes and everything, but it was an Oregon use tax or something like that, which ended up being $200. If I had registered it in Pennsylvania, I would have had to pay sales tax on it, which would have been close to $6,000. So I saved a lot of money that way, and I'm also saving money on insurance by doing that too. And then since I purchased it, I've put about, I'd say probably about $7,000 into the car. Some of that direct upgrades, some of that staging upgrades for the future. So that's kind of where I'm sitting at, is I've put probably about $102,000 into this car total, including buying the car. So that's essentially how much it costs. But if you're looking to buy one, I recommend buying used, and I recommend taking a look at some of even the older ones. I looked at a 2011 with about 80,000 miles on it, and that was like $45,000. So, you know, if you're wanting to save money, that's one way to do it. Not a question, but you got to 9K quick, bro. Congrats. Thank you. The growth on Instagram has been phenomenal. Every time I check my Instagram, I have a new follower, a new like, and it's honestly awesome. I actually had to turn off my notifications because it was just getting a little ridiculous how many fucking notifications are popping up. And that's a great thing. It's honestly been a lot of fun, and it's really cool. I absolutely love when I show up to an event and someone takes a picture of my car and sends it to me and is like, hey, I see you, hey, I see your car, or something like that. If you see me or my car anywhere, don't be afraid to take a picture, don't be afraid to tag me in it, or don't be afraid to come up and talk to me. I love talking about cars, I love talking about this car, I love just conversing in general. So I urge anyone to come up and talk to me if you see me at an event, or you see me out just driving like some people have. I'm actually considering, I gotta figure out the best way to do it, but I'm actually considering, I did say no stickers, but I might put a sticker with my Instagram handle on it, just because my Instagram has been getting bigger, and that might be a way for me to see some of the posts. Because just for example, yesterday, sorry, it was yesterday for dinner. I went to Chipotle, and while I was in Chipotle, I was standing in line getting my food. I look out and I see these two guys walking around my car, and they're like taking pictures, walking around it. They were standing by my car for a solid like 8 minutes while I was inside of Chipotle, and then they walked back across the parking lot. And when I came walking out, I looked over and I saw them staring at me. And then as soon as I got in my car, they came walking over at a pretty quick pace, and were like came up to talk to me, and were really friendly, asking about the car and stuff like that. They were just big fans of the car, and so that was a lot of fun. It was really cool discussing that with them, but I wasn't able to see the pictures because they didn't have my Instagram handle, and so if they posted them on Instagram or Snapchat or something like that, I wasn't able to see them. And I love seeing my car on Instagram, on Snapchat and everything, because it's a beautiful car. I love looking at it, honestly. Next question, should I get a 350Z like the one from Tokyo Drift, or a Skyline GTR? GTR all the way, man. Why get a baby shark when you can get a daddy shark? Only some people will understand that joke. Honestly, I have nothing against the 350Z. I just, personally, I like the Skyline GTR better. That's just kind of how I am, but it's personal preference. You're not gonna go wrong either way. You're gonna, if you want a 350Z, go with the 350Z. If you want a GTR, go with the GTR. Personally, if I was in your shoes, I'd go with the Skyline. Next question, how much horsepower is your car making to the wheel, then engine? So, I don't actually know how much my car is making crank. I can try to do the math, assuming it stays consistent. My car the GTR comes stock with 565 horsepower to the crank. Now, that's just a generic, so it could be a little bit above or below, but I believe my car on the dyno came in around 450. So you're looking at 565, 450, about 110, 115 horsepower loss from the crank. And so my car is now, it went from 450 to 535 to the wheels with the upgrades that I've done so far. Looking to add more, by the way, keep an eye out on that. And so, you know, you take the 535, you add about 110, 115, you're looking at 650, you know, 640, 650, somewhere in that range for crank. I don't know, to be honest. That's just a wild guess. But in terms of actual wheel horsepower, what it pumps out on the dyno is 535. All right, next question. Nice GTR, but one question: what do you think about Boxy Cars? Your name, okay. Based on your name, I think you're thinking of like cubes, because there's more cars that have more generally boxy look, and then there's cars that are actual fucking boxes. I'm not a fan personally. If you like the cube, that's more power to you. Everybody has different preferences in what they like in cars. I'm not a fan of the super boxy look. I do like a little bit boxy. I mean, if you compare the GTR to some other cars, it has a boxy look to it, and I do prefer that over some of the other looks, but I don't like an actual where it looks like someone took a cardboard box and put wheels on it. I'm not really a fan of that look, and everybody's preferences are different. Some people really love those cars. I mean, you see them out on the road all the time, so clearly people like those cars, but it's just not for me. There's a lot of looks that I'm just really not a fan of, and that's one of them. Next question, would you buy an R34? Absolutely. This is something that I would love to do down the road. Probably more like around retirement age or something. It depends on my financial situation, because instead of buying an R34, I'd rather buy upgrades for this car or buy a more practical car. I'd love to have a secondary car that has like really good gas mileage, and that'll be my long distance driver, and this will be my more fun driver. We'll see what happens, but honestly, if I got into a really good financial situation and I could afford it, I would love to have an R35 that's just modded to shit like this. And I'd love to have an R34 as well. I personally prefer the R35 look. I think it looks cooler, but the R34 just has this certain look to it that's insanely cool. And so I absolutely would love to have one of each. I'd love to have a garage, a white garage, where you just have my R35 and then right next to it the R34, and they just look beautiful as all hell. Absolutely, I would buy an R34. This is a good question. Would you ever let somebody rent your car for prom? Absolutely, but I'd be very strict on it, and it wouldn't be to just any random person who happens to DM me on Instagram. It would have to be like one of my buddies in my car club or something like that, and even then I would put some pretty strict requirements that would make it really hard. Like, I shit you not, this may sound like a joke, but I would probably do something like you have to put down a $5,000 deposit or something like that. Just some high amount that would be there, you know, in case the worst happens. And then I would probably charge quite a bit too, because and it's not really for gas or the miles that'll be put on it. It's more for the fact that from the time I drop the car off to when I get it back, I would be stressing my ass off, and so that's kind of what I'd want the compensation for. It also would try to discourage other people from trying to do it as well, because I wouldn't want to just be constantly renting my car out. But for the right circumstance, for the right situation, right person, yeah, I would be perfectly fine doing that, and it'd be something I'm willing to discuss with people. But there would be strict requirements on it, especially for something like prom. I mean, if you think about it, prom is where, if I let someone borrow my car for a day, it's really not that big of a deal. But at prom, I mean, I've been to 2 proms. Prom has so much fucking stupidity and alcohol, which creates more stupidity going on, that it's just a bad environment for my car to be in. Even if you leave it like as far away as possible, there's still alcohol being consumed in high quantities that night, and so there's a lot of potential for something bad to happen. And so, you know, prom is definitely a situation where, one of those situations where I would be more nervous with it than if you were just like, hey, can I rent your car to take my girlfriend on a date or something like that. You know, one is a little bit more worrying to me, I guess. Next question, are you planning on doing any wrap on the GTR? I was, and honestly, I still am if I find a color or design that just blows my mind. But I mean, I love this blue color. I think it looks really good, and honestly, I would save money if I did like a paint correction and then just did like a really long ceramic coating, and then it would be kind of pointless to do a wrap. But it's definitely something I'd consider. It's something I've been considering for a while, and it's definitely something that can happen. It's just, I'm not a creative genius. I'd have to see something that makes me be like, oh, I love that color, but we'll see what happens. Next question, you have a next build. Not really entirely sure what you're asking. If you're asking what the next thing I'm gonna do to this car is, the next thing I'm gonna do to this car is, right now I'm looking at getting a really good price for downpipes, intercooler and flex fuel kit, as well as obviously fuel injectors, because I don't have those. So, well, upgraded fuel injectors. So, you know, and with those, I'd be pushing a little bit over 600 wheel horsepower, which that would be amazing. But that's kind of the next part of the build for this. If you're talking about my next, like, project car, I don't have one planned. I really don't. If I am ever, like, super stupid rich, I may start a second project car and create, I've wanted to create, like, the biggest sleeper ever. You know, like, and I shit you not, like, buying a Prius and just seeing what the absolute best I can get out of it is. That would be something I'd consider down the road. As it stands right now, I'm not in a situation to do that. Right now I'm focused on this car and then moving and potential for things like engagement, marriage, house, kids, stuff like that. So I don't have anything planned. I'm not that type of person where I have just a bunch of project cars going on at a time. I'll probably see what I can get out of this thing and then just kind of leave it at whatever horsepower it's at the time, and then maybe start another project car when I'm much older. I don't know. We'll see. It's definitely something I would consider. It's definitely something that's a possibility, but I don't see it happening anytime soon. Last question, BMW M5 or Lamborghini Aventador? I have respect for both cars. I've driven an M4 for a few years, pretty consistently, and that was a lot of fun. I've never driven an M5, but I know the BMW M Performance is spectacular. I've never driven a Lamborghini. That might change soon, by the way, and if it does, I'm gonna make a video about it. But yeah, but personally, I've always had a love for Lamborghinis. I don't think I'll ever own one. I don't think even if I had the money I would own one, but I absolutely would love to drive one and maybe like rent one for a day. And so if I was offered a BMW M5 or a Lamborghini Aventador for free, I could just choose whichever one. I would probably choose the Lamborghini. All right, hey guys, so yeah, really quickly, I think I figured out a way to do this. Actually, I'm gonna pull forward a tiny bit now that I think about it. So I think I found a way to get this recorded pretty well. Yeah, it should do it. I'm just gonna set this up behind my car and do a couple revs. There's people around, so I don't wanna annoy them too much, but yeah, I just kinda wanted to show you guys and allow you guys to get a feel of what sort of power I'm packing with this car. So yeah, 1 second.